Welcome to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. This podcast is about all things outdoor photography, including landscapes, wildlife, macro, and more. The show features two talented photographers, Henry Doyle and Ryan Taylor, who bring their different experiences in photography to the podcast. The show is released weekly every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In today's episode, Henry and Ryan talk about some of their earliest experiences in photography, including techniques they use and images they will critique here on the show, and they offer some tips on portfolio development over the years. As always, hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to episode 33 of the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. And today we're going back in time.
Yes, we are talking about our earliest days in photography. I guess we're just going to go over our earliest experiences really with the camera, just our development of our portfolio over the years, and maybe share some funny stories and lessons learned as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real funny ones. I was very dumb back then, so
It was just funny, ignorance is bliss, right? It's just kind of funny stories now, but you're like, at the time, like, why did I do that?
everybody has a journey. So
And that's half the fun of it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you consider yourself a introspective person, Henry? Do you like to look back over the years and all that?
I mean, I not really. The one thing I do look back on a lot for photography is just the photos themselves. Because I still have photos I'm proud of from my early days. Just maybe not as much, but I'll look back pretty frequently. It's pretty fun to look at like the old JPEGs and just see how I've improved and just also just kind of admire them and kind of learn. But I wouldn't say I'm like a journal writing kind of person that like catalogs their every thought or something.
Records in it. Yeah. That's funny because I'm quite the opposite, honestly. Like lately I've been doing more like journaling than ever, like especially with just my hikes and just the various things I see, the flora and fauna. And yeah, I've always kind of been introspective, really, just by nature, I'd say. And just different photos I'd see, kind of like what you said. It's like it takes me back to that certain time period in my life. How I was feeling, what was going on, photography or not, the gear I used, the lighting conditions, like everything. It's just kind of weird way to think about it, but that's how I guess approach it. I always look back on like I took this image today 3 years ago, and it just kind of floods back all those memories.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just looking at a photo and remembering your time out in the field is really powerful. Like I can look at photos from 2 years ago and remember if it's a impactful enough photo, I can remember exactly what I was doing, like you said, and just kind of all the conditions of it.
And usually it's kind of, at least for me, it's preserved for like probably the most like powerful, I guess, experiences when out in the field. Like not every photo is just instantly going to grant me like that memory, but like the most like not even the best photos, but just the ones with the best, I think, narrative to it or just memories from it. That always sticks with you, I think, in the photo itself.
Yeah, and you could really look at your different phases too of your photography as you like start to discover your style and stuff. Because I don't know about you, but I really didn't start. I kind of started photography by accident. I've talked about how I got into it before, so I'm not gonna like get too deep into it. But I really wasn't trying to do photography. I just kind of grew into it, and especially nature photography. Like I didn't even like think about it. I just kind of started doing it. That was kind of the genre that stuck out to me the most. So I just kind of fell naturally into it and kind of evolved over the years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, kind of same here, really. It's just you kind of found it by accident, I guess. You just kind of start like for me, I was just kind of going on like little nature walks. It wasn't like big hikes necessarily, but I'd spend an afternoon, evening just to kill some time, and I'd bring the camera along and just see what I could capture with it.
Yeah,
that's the fun of it, really.
It really, at first it was just kind of that thing you brought with you, and then it kind of becomes kind of the main purpose of everything. So.
Yeah, I guess if you want to just dive right into it, I mean, like I remember one of my earliest, I think almost 10 years ago now, I just got my DSLR. I think I explained on the show one episode a while ago, but I got my first DSLR, and yeah, I just got it for Christmas. It was a nice gift and everything. And I think it was New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Very, very cold and windy day. It's very cloudy and just kind of blank, boring gray sky. And this was long before I had a car, many years before. And I was just so excited to get out with the camera. I don't know. I just had this stirring emotion of just like, I want to just get out and photograph whatever I see. So I went to like this local nature reserve that I still go to all the time now. And yeah, I biked all the way down there just by myself and just had a ball with it, just photographing on auto mode of all that. And just pretty much like just a running gun, honestly. I was just so excited. I just point the camera, and like I said, full auto mode, and just point at something and just take the picture. And I don't have any of the images now. I think that I didn't even shoot raw at the time. But I could almost picture it still, like the memories I felt with that, associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that first outing with your camera is definitely very important. I remember mine was just it wasn't an outing, but I literally took a IKEA plants, like a fake plant in my room. I posed it on this windowsill and like got like a side angle with a leading line, and that was literally the first shot I took. And then I made it blue instead of green. That was kind of my creative spin to it. But that that's my first really photography outing. It wasn't an outing, but it was kind of my first foray. So I always
Your
remember that.
like your first exposure, all puns
Yes.
intended. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's great. Yeah, did you take that with like your first DSLR you ever owned?
It was a mirrorless, but yeah, it was my first little beginner mirrorless camera.
Okay, I see.
I've never really shot. I've shot a little bit on a DSLR, but I've never owned a DSLR. So
That's true. Yeah.
uh-huh.
I guess it's your generation now. They're like,
Yeah.
What's a DSLR? Like a Canon?
Uh-huh.
What's that? Yeah, that makes total sense. I guess, yeah, with my story, it's like that was the first DSLR I ever owned. But like a couple years prior, I used one in high school, an Icon at that. And yeah, this was the first time I actually had
Boo.
one. Well, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's all they had at the high school I was
I'm
at.
kidding.
So
I'm kidding.
no, I know. It's all good. I mean, that's all they had. I think at the time I even said like, I want a Canon. I don't want a Nikon. But I'm glad to have one at all. But anyways, yeah, that was the first camera I ever had on that first outing. Owned, I said, and like, so it just felt so neat to finally have one. These expensive, almost like toy pieces of gear, just see what it's really capable of. Experiment with all the dials and settings, and just see how it works. And yeah, the images are terrible, of course, like you said, Henry. It's like terribly overexposed or underexposed. I don't even think I really knew what a histogram was at that point.
Didn't know how to
And
focus. Just all that stuff.
well, I had autofocus to save the day, but like I said, auto mode. So I mean, like it's not going to be the most correct lighting
Mm-hmm.
situations. But like it was a like I said, cloudy, diffused light day, like even sky. So it was pretty easy to expose for. But
Yeah. I mean, one thing with
yeah,
auto mode that when I used to shoot on auto way back in the day, it doesn't think about you not being able to hold long shutter speeds. So like
yes.
it'll crank it all the way down and you just can't hold that kind of shutter speed. So people get really confused. I think that's one of the major problems. Like I know in the menus
Mm.
you could set a limit on what shutter speed is like good, like safe for you to hand hold, but no beginner's gonna do that. So like
No,
it's
no.
always a big problem.
And honestly, I don't think they should. I feel like everyone needs to start with that full auto and just see the trial
Yeah.
and error of it. Like if you, because no one can start a manual and just know what they're doing. That takes I would say months or years, honestly, to really get to that point. But I mean, you're definitely right. Where it's like the camera thinks it's doing something right with exposing, especially if it does have like a built-in light meter. But it's not always going to be right, of course.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere close to always being right. It's usually
In my
way
experience,
wrong.
no.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll put it back on auto if I'm just like really, really feeling lazy, or like it's like a documentation shot. Like I don't care about how pretty it looks. Like I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
a cool bird just flew by, or a flyover. I don't know, and I'm just like full auto, take it. But yeah, you're right. Where it's like that shutter speed, it doesn't really take that into account. And I know AV mode as well does that too, because it's focused primarily on the f-stop in your aperture, and so it's typically going to slow down that shutter pretty drastically, I'd say. And if you're shooting handheld, that's going to be a big problem, of course.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
you really just have to be kind of a genius to like know like if like your auto mode will give you the right exposure. Like you can't just be like I mean, you're gonna fail. Like you're not gonna get all your shots in focus in auto mode. You're not gonna get all your shots sharp in auto mode. Like it's definitely interesting. So,
Mhm. And like I noticed, it usually probably for most people, I'd say it's the experience, but like it usually chooses the widest aperture as well for auto mode. So I mean, it's always going to be like f5.6 or something. And so if you want like everything in the scene, like if you're shooting at wide angle or maybe like a kit lens, and you want to get everything in the scene in focus, it's not going to work. It's simply going to just blur out the edges where it'd be like a vignette almost.
mhm. Yeah, that's a big like people just don't understand aperture in the beginning too,
Hmm.
and like what I struggled with in the beginning was like shooting close in on a plant at like f2.8 or something is not the same as shooting a wide scene at f2.8. Like
Oh,
it's
definitely.
not the same look. Like I could not wrap my head around that in the beginning.
If I use the same lens, does it, create the same results? No, not really. The subject makes a difference too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's actually, you raise a good point there because, yeah, it's definitely like you can like experiment with the camera settings, like we're saying. It's like if you put it on a tripod and you point the same lens at the same subject, but you adjust the aperture all the way, it's going to create a drastically different effect on the image and the final result.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mhm. Yeah, but that's stuff you learn in trial and error. I guess tripods is one thing that I had a problem with, early on as well. But a lot of
Did
people do.
you did you not use tripods or too much tripod or
That like with that first outing, like I said, I think that was like a camera bundle for I think about $500 on P&H, and included the basics like you get like those like slung over bags, camera bags. It's like a really small one that could fit like a lens and a DSLR. And I had that in the kit lens. I think it was like 18 to 55 or whatever they use, zoom lens. And then I had a couple of memory cards. I think there's like a crappy set of like Vivitar filters that were just
Oh
terrible.
no, not the Vivitars.
Yeah, I'm talking like the cheap, like
Yeah.
$10 3-pack. Includes the
I had
basics.
those too. Yeah, they were
Everyone gets.
interesting.
And then the Sunpack tripod. Oh my, that tripod is like
So my goodness.
that was honestly that wasn't even worth money. Like, but I think it's like $10 separately, and that thing is worth about $10. It lasted, I think, 3 4 months, and then like parts on it broke and snapped, and I'm just like, this sucks. Yeah, it was one of those cheap. Like I feel like a lot of people start with those really cheap, like aluminum or even plastic, like pan swivel tilt tripods. It's got the center column that's connected and everything. But, they're terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, so for that first outing, I think I even left the tripod at home too. I was just like, I don't need this.
Ah, Ryan, why?
I don't need that crap. So I just like took it, shot handheld. Like I said,
Tripods are for video only.
I probably thought that because I saw the tripod head and I was like, what's the point? um, but yeah, so just had it slung over my shoulder with the name brand Canon neck strap. Ugh, the days like that, man. I think I wore sweatpants in like gym shoes. It
I
was
mean,
like mud, just
I still wear
muddy.
sweatpants in the field sometimes. I mean, they work for hiking, at least if you tuck them in and make sure you don't get ticks. I mean,
Oh
I
sure.
find they're great, really.
Yeah, I know people that do the sweatpants thing still, and I'm like, I just, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I know I'm just like really nerdy about it. I wear like multi-pocketed, hiking pants that can convert those shorts if I need to.
Yeah, I mean, I wear those a lot too, as well.
Yeah,
It's probably my daily driver if I go out every day, but sweatpants when I'm washing them.
right. It's for the casual walks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean sometimes I wear shorts, but it just depends. But clothing, oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I mean the early days was fun. I know in high school I took 2 semesters of it. Film was the first semester, and I remember like I had this roll of film because we had to do like I think it was like an action series or movement kind of like a themed assignment or whatever. And I went to like the local regional airport. So it's like just a small airport, of course, just little like Cessna planes and stuff, single propeller engines. And I just got like on the edge of the airstrip one evening with my mom because she drove me there, of course. And I'm like just pointing this little film camera, and just every time they would take off every couple minutes, try to get a couple of them and just get like a roll or two of film, or actually, yeah, just a roll. And I went back like that next week at school, tried to develop the film. It was the entire strip was white, just plain white, like it never happened.
Oh, jeez.
And so I like looked at my teacher, I'm like, Miss Donaldson, nothing came out. Like, and she looked at it, and she's like, oh my gosh. It's like, I don't think it was put in right. See how it's like just barely falling out of it? I'm like, oh geez.
Yeah. I mean, I've had that happen to me on digital before. So.
Oh, you get the no memory card found
Uh-huh.
thing. Oh geez. You can set. I believe most cameras nowadays can set that so it like prevents you from using the shutter.
Yeah.
Like it locks up. Yeah, because I have mine set to do that, but I don't think I ever take mine out really.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You never take your memory card out?
Oh no, I plug in straight into the computer.
Oh yeah, cool.
Like via like the hot cable port. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I switch between two every once in a while, just because I don't know.
The two memory cards.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I have like 3 or 4 of like copy like the same exact model, but like I think one's for commercial work and one's for like my like nature photo, like my work, I guess.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that way, yeah. I just spread the love, separate them. But that way the stuff I'm getting paid for isn't like, corrupted or something. Yeah. Versus what I just like enjoy doing myself.
So do you like from your if you were this question I just kind of thought of, would you prefer like say you are doing a week of photography, would you prefer going back to that kind of carefree state where you don't really care about the photos and you're just kind of shooting with a beginner camera, or would you rather just be where you are now? Like which it sounds kind of, I don't know, like you see what I mean, like what
you're saying,
what kind of stage of photography would you like to go back to, I guess? Like
no, I get what you're saying. It's a good question, actually. Gosh, you put me on the spot there. Well, it's funny you say that because I'm looking at over on my desk or across the room on the table. I have actually my first DSLR just sitting there, and it's since fallen in water. Of course, I've told that story many times. So unfortunately, I can't use it, but like I still have it for now. And I mean, I don't like if we're just talking just the gear for a moment. Like I'd still use a camera because it's still a good camera. It's not perfect, but like there's memories attached to it, and all that stuff. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, like I always find myself, I guess, kind of going back to that same feeling that you're kind of describing, that same like essence, I guess, of the early days, or just like the carefree joy, like you said, and all that. I always find myself going back to that, and especially when I get so hung up on getting the photo and stuff, because nowadays I'm just like really like I'm going out and driving, I'm chasing this bird, or I have to go to this park right now to see this flower, and I got like a few days of window of time to do it, or else that sort of thing. Or maybe like the lighting sucks for a few days in a row, and I'm just like, this is the only day off I have this week, and I have to make it work. Yeah, like you just get so pressured on yourself, I guess. So, but like back then, it's just like I would just take long exposures of a creek, midday light, and I didn't care. I didn't know any better, honestly. Like,
yeah,
I just thought it was fun.
You're probably pretty happy with the photos too.
At the time, yeah, you better believe
standards back then.
Yeah, no, and like we could do a whole episode. I mean, we have done, but like a whole episode of composition of just like the earliest shots and how maybe good they were, some of them, but like how absolutely terrible some others were. Just simply because you just standing straight up tall, maybe at your tripod, just at that same height, and you're looking straight ahead or something. Like no interesting kind of angle or perspective, and you're just there, like just a boring static look to it, and whatever you point your camera at. But back to what you were saying, your question. I'm always kind of, I guess in a way, I'm always chasing that kind of, I don't know, early glory days, I guess, of it. Just chasing that feeling, because I feel like it's like when you get to a point where, especially if you want to get professional and career and all that stuff gets involved, if it does for you, it's like you can lose sight of it. But like I'm always like trying to keep that beginner mindset. Like I always want to keep that feeling of eagerness. Like, oh, there's another robin just sitting on that branch. I've seen that bird 2 million times already. I don't want to like lose that. You know what I mean? Like I want to always be excited. Like, oh, that's a robin, but like I may have 20,000 shots of it, in my portfolio, but like I still want to take a shot because it might be something different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like, tuning your curiosity, trying to get back to that older mindset of just not photographing everything, but just kind of finding beauty in everything, I
Yeah.
guess.
I guess now that I'm like, I describe myself as like 5 years in by now, 5 years of like really pursuing it more and more. But like, I find myself lately, it's like, especially with spring, you get, a lot of flowers and birds, especially, and waterfalls, of course. I'm finding myself kind of like going, like when I'm retreading these familiar locations I've been to, I'm like, oh, I took some pictures of that flower. So I just kind of skip it. But like, sometimes it's almost detrimental. Like you kind of miss out on other opportunities you may, otherwise not seen early on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it. There's pros and cons to each stage, I think, for sure.
Yeah, like it's good to have that kind of like, I guess, mental checklist, or if you have written it down, like, oh, I took some pictures of this flower. I'm good on that subject for now. But like this bird, this, I don't know, a warbler or neotropical migrant, like I don't have any of that, and like I need to focus on that. Like that's good, but like, yeah, I'd never want to like just pass up like like I said, a robin if it's just sitting on the ground next to me, and it's like, why would I pass it up? It could be a good photo right there.
Uh-huh. Well, you're a
Yeah.
lot better than me in that respect because I've only been birding for like 9 months. And I already skipped robins, so
No, yeah, I mean it's. I'd say like my most photographed species are song sparrows and Canada geese. Like I have so many of each one, all seasons, focal
Mhm.
length,
Yeah. I mean,
whatever
as long
backdrops.
as you capture different behaviors and stuff, there's nothing wrong with shooting.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the way I look at it. Is like I want to make each shot different, bring something new to the
Hmm.
table. Big or small doesn't matter.
Yeah. The stage I was kind of thinking about for my photography was kind of, I don't know. It was like probably like a year and a half ago. That was when I would say I really started getting into nature photography, like seriously, like weekly outings at least. Um, and back then I had much lighter equipment and I just carried less with me in general. And my quality was a lot worse. Not always the greatest, but I was kind of a little bit more free back then. Like I just kind of just experimented with weird shots and I prefer what I do now, of course, but like back then it was kind of like a different sense of freedom, I guess.
What do you mean by like experimenting with weird shots? Like what was like weird to you in your
Like
eyes?
I would just like shoot the weirdest subjects. Like I would just photograph weird trees and stuff and just
No,
I don't know,
trees
like it
weird.
was almost like I didn't know as much about photography, so I just kind of was kind
You
of
pho-
using my own intuition, I guess.
well, you photograph what you like to see.
Hmm.
Something about that tree like stuck out to you, and that's why you took the
Yeah.
picture, right?
And of course I still do that, but like it was different back then. Like I'm not saying it's better, but it's just kind of a
There's more
different kind of
focus.
experience. Yeah.
You took that picture of that weird tree because it was weird, but something about it attracted you to it, and now you kind of like you may you up here like go ahead and chime in if you disagree or whatever, but I'm assuming it's like if you took that same picture of that weird tree now, you'd be like you're doing it with a better, much more, how do I say, like mature, I guess, like eye for it. Like you're gonna like technical and artistically, like so you're gonna choose that. You're gonna take that shot of that tree and you're gonna make it better, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, like I would see that tree and be like, or even not even take a shot and be like, oh, that tree has like a white blown out sky above it. Why would I even consider taking that shot? Something like that. Like I look at a shot now and say, is it going to be a decent shot? Like another example is like a bird shot. If I see a bird and it's backlit by a white sky, I usually won't take it unless I'm going for like a vignette or something because I just know that's not going to be a good shot. Um,
Yeah.
but it changes a lot, and I think sometimes that can be good. You're focusing on shots that have a chance of being good versus not the best conditions. But sometimes it may also not be as good. So
Mhm. Actually, you got me thinking about another question here is that kind of, I guess, goes off the last one is that do you find yourself maybe like do you ever pull away from a shot nowadays versus when you started out? Like back then were you just photographing anything, kind of threw caution to the wind, like as in any photo's good photo, but like nowadays, are you more choosy, I guess, with your compositions? Do you find yourself like going like the light's not good, it's not going to work,
Oh
so you
yeah.
just kind of pull out from it?
I mean, especially with light. Like I used to be and this was probably just a couple months ago, really. I used to be so lazy with getting up in the morning. I think I talked about this
I
once.
think it's
Nowadays I get up all the time early. Like I get up at 6 and I know now like I was dumb. It's even if it's a cloudy day, like I should still get up early. And since I've done that, I've gotten to shoot foggy mornings, countless foggy mornings, great soft light bird shots. And just I've really kind of figured out lighting a lot more. And during the day, on those beautiful blue sky days, now I don't have to focus on photography. I can just take a hike or a walk or something in nature.
Mhm.
And I just kind of know with that.
I've always said, yeah, it's like sunrise and early morning is like it's kind of like a rite of passage where it's like a special time of day that very few people really seem to like wake up for and appreciate. And yeah, like you said, like the lighting conditions, just the birds are much more, singing along and everything. It's like there's a lot like happening, I guess, early morning that you wouldn't see otherwise. And it wouldn't look quite as good, of course, at midday.
Yeah, definitely. You just really have to know that to get good photos, I think.
Mhm. But that comes with time
Consistent good
too.
photos at least.
Yeah, consistently too. Yeah. It's just that's the problem is though is like you kind of have to learn it over time because you can do the midday thing, and a lot of people that go out shooting with they probably think I'm like vehemently opposed to like midday light. Like if I'm out there with the camera, I'm like it's not worth taking any shot, but it's like I'll do it, but I just might not like it as much. So that's
Yeah.
when I will pull away from taking a shot. But
hmm Yeah, and like you
I
mentioned with
mean,
the robin, like there's some bird species that I just won't shoot anymore. Doves and robins are the two main ones for me.
yeah, yeah. Only if it's probably like the opportunity is different, right?
Uh-huh.
Or
Yeah, unless
potential
there's like
photo.
some really amazing lighting, like a spotlight, like a targeted light on the bird or something where you can isolate the background or something. I usually won't shoot it.
Right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like the other day, I went out birding for like 8 hours, like legit, just 8 hours straight,
Oh
just because
wow.
it's spring migration. But yeah, it was a really sunny day, like just the entire morning and afternoon. But I mean, I was like getting these great bird shots, and like once I kind of learned to, like, I guess in a way, it kind of brought me back to the early days where I'm like, I had to struggle with these really high contrast scenes and make these photographs work. But now with like over 5, 10 years of experience now with the camera in my hands, it's like I kind of learned how to kind of work with that, I guess, that lighting. So I'm like, if a bird is
hmm
being cooperative, perched on a tree beside me, if I just wait a few seconds, it may turn its head and it would get catched by the light, but not be so overexposed. So yeah, just
hmm
certain things like that you kind of just learn over time to work with. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know
but
how to work with that lighting. I've learned to kind of prefer it. I really like the lesser crowds in the early morning too. That's a big
mhm.
factor for me when we carry this much equipment. It's nice just to be by yourself and less birds are scared away, and it's just you can be more meditative. I think.
It can be a lot quieter too, I think. Yeah, like you said, less people out,
Yep.
except people like us, I guess, and a select few of others. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's like any time of day is good too. So it just depends.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think like early on, I was just so like eager to get out that like I would just get out all times of day and I'd spend whole days out, just get lost in it, just hit the trail and stuff and just seeing what was out there. Cause everything at that beginning stage was just new to me. Like I said, like we keep mentioning the robin, like that was such a new bird to me once I learned, at an early age, like, oh, this is a robin. And, there's other birds, of course, but there's this one. Like, so it's just like there's all these new things that you just kind of just see when you're out there, really spend like a considerable amount of time like looking for them, I guess.
hmm Will you ever consider shooting a squirrel, or have you moved beyond that
Oh
to
yeah. I've
really?
done it tons. Yeah, I've done backyards, out in the middle of nowhere. I've done it, yeah, everywhere. So that's a subject I've done a lot too.
Nice.
I mean, yeah, I mean backyard wildlife is great too. That's
Oh
great.
yeah, definitely. That was what I did a lot in the beginning. A lot of
Especially
backyard wildlife.
Yeah, especially backyard birds. But yeah, we get eastern cottontail rabbits, eastern tree squirrels, sometimes fox squirrels. What else? Little chipmunks. Those guys are cute, but they're really fast. And then like nocturnal stuff, like on my trail cameras nowadays, I see like possums, raccoons,
Uh,
skunks, all that sorts.
up in
Deer.
up in Michigan, we get black squirrels. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. Yeah, we get a few albino squirrels in our area. They're kind
Oh,
of
cool.
lesser common, but
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of them. It's always when I don't have my camera though, of course.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
like on a
usually
little
how it
walk in the
goes.
neighborhood. I'm like, oh, there he is. There he goes.
That would probably be one of the pros back when you were like a beginner, because at least when I was a beginner, I would just bring my camera like on its camera company strap, and I would just always have it. Uh, so that like nowadays with like all the big heavy gear and stuff, you may not take it as many places. So I guess back then that
Right.
might have been kind of an upside.
I mean, for a good couple of years, when I first got that camera, I'd bring it to friends' houses. I mean, like, and just have the bag with me. And like, I guess we could talk about it like a kind of like a work-life balance. I guess is that nowadays I kind of learned to kind of distance myself from the camera. Like I know when to put it away and just keep it at home, no matter if it's like the most beautiful day out or there's like a rare bird in my county or something. But like I kind of learned to distance myself and just take breaks from it. Like back then, I just kind of always want to be tethered to it, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but you do get burned out pretty easily, I think.
Yeah, you definitely have to have that balance for sure. Um, I've been burned out before, and it's definitely not good. It's not a good feeling. And maybe even just try bringing a lightweight camera setup if you have to have your camera with you. Maybe just bring something you could hold handheld and just snap a couple pictures and have minimal expectations or something. But uh, I definitely like I feel like there's some photographers that are always on eBird and stuff, which is fine. You do you, but I I personally I glance at eBird occasionally, but I like kind of the mystery of photography still. Like I go out and kind of see what I see. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of my style. Even conditions wise, like I'll check to make sure it won't rain and that it won't be like the like horrible lighting, but besides that, I'm just kind of there for the conditions, I guess. And I guess that's really one thing I've kind of kept. I mean, of course,
So
I won't shoot on like a horribly sunny day sometimes, but like in the morning, I won't care if it's foggy or if it's just some nice small clouds or something.
I very much care if it's foggy. Like I definitely get up way early for that, but
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'll go out more if it's foggy. True, but
yeah. So you said like you keep that mindset still to this day.
kind of the ran like
Go with the
part of
flow.
part of what attracts me in nature photography, especially the wildlife side, is the adventure of it and just the finding these random birds that you just would never expect to see. Uh, that's really what excites me. In landscapes too, just finding the cool subjects.
Hmm. That's very interesting because not to play devil's advocate, but I mean, like, kind of in the early days, I was like that, but more so now, I'm very, I think, thorough to a T about planning certain things. Like, I'm a big eBird user, especially nowadays, in the past 2 years, and I use it to plan out so many trips. Just that way I can kind of be prepared. Get a grasp of what I may see at a certain habitat or location, and then even with like landscapes, I like to pre-scout locations and see different landmarks or subject matters and see them in different lighting conditions throughout the day or even seasons and just kind of prepare maybe for like potential shots I may have in mind. But yeah, I think I'm much more of a planner now more than ever. Like
Hmm.
checking the weather days in advance, seeing if it changes at all, you know, stuff like that. I mean, if I don't do that, like I do like the spontaneity of it, and I still plan trips. I plan the trips with like a guideline, I guess. Like a guideline, as in like if I'm going to this place that has lots of birds and opportunities, I'm gonna bring the gear, of course, for that respective opportunity. But I'm gonna like go there with like a list of like this past weekend. I did like I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna see orchard oriole. I'm gonna see yellow warbler. I'm gonna see I don't know any warblers. I'm gonna see maybe like a tanager. Just stuff like that. But like I don't know how to describe it. Like I didn't I went there with hoping to see them, but
Yeah,
like
you
that's
might see them, and
more
it's
than likely. Yeah.
uh huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I like to go into a place knowing I'll see it, but like being free to just anything that arises. Like basically what I'm
Oh
getting
yeah.
at is like, yeah, like this past weekend, I didn't go to this wildlife area anticipating to see a yellow-breasted chat. And that's a really cool bird. I've only heard them in years past, during spring and everything in summer. But like this time I got one in plain sight. And I actually got some not frame fillers, but like it's in the image and it's actually in focus pretty well, I think.
Mhm.
But it's pretty far away.
Yeah,
And
like you're
that was a
not
little
trying to.
surprise for me.
Uh huh. So like, if I trying to get what you're trying to say, you're like saying like you go to a place, you could see this here, but you're not like just tracking that down. Like you won't refuse something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see a cool landscape, you may shoot it, or if that
I,
bird shows up,
I,
you'll shoot that. You know.
I went to also the other day. I went to a local community park, and it's not like it's a really busy like paved path kind of loop around this decently sized fishing pond and everything that they stock with fish. And it's busy like all times of year. But I mean, like at this point, I just walk around my big telephoto, and I really don't care, what people think. Most people are actually kind of fascinated, like that's a big lens, all that stuff. But anyways, I went there because actually on eBird I saw a couple days prior that someone had reported a sighting of a black crowned night heron, which I know it's a bird you've seen, Henry,
Oh yeah.
but that's a live bird for me, and I haven't seen one in person yet. But it's one I've always wanted to see for a long time. And I went there with the intention of hopefully seeing it this one evening. I went, and I didn't get it, but I did get a couple of other surprises that I didn't think I'd actually see at this park, including a green heron, which is cool.
Ooh,
Just to see
nice.
one at the small little park was surprising to me. Usually they're like in the dense marsh or
Uh-huh.
something
Aren't
or
they
other.
aren't they weird birds? Like their proportions are just so strange to me.
They're very like like a great blue heron's proportions. Like they're very
Uh huh.
tall and kind of slender. Their necks all
Yeah.
straight, and they're most of the time. Yeah, the like a green heron's much more stocky, kind of like compact, I guess, if that makes sense. Like they're very slouched and they're very, very tiny. Like
Mhm.
probably
And
like
their feet are huge too in comparison to the rest of their body.
yeah, they're pretty large. And their necks are incredibly compared to a great blue or like an egret or something, like their necks are incredibly small. Even when they raise them, stretch them out, like they're still like a very, very tiny bird. I think they're don't quote me on it, but I think they're like about the size of a crow. They're very small.
Very
So
small. Yeah.
which I mean, a crow is a pretty big bird by and large compared to like most songbirds, but like compared to herons, I mean, like it's a pretty small heron.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, like I was saying, like I went to this location. I was hoping to see this one bird, didn't get it, but I kept my options and to what I would see otherwise, and I got some surprises and great photos. As a result, it's not like I packed up my bags and just kind of left. I don't see it. You know,
Mhm. Yeah, and I think there are some people that do that, but that's kind of the more like ornithol. I can't even say the word like that. Just
ornithologist.
ornithologist view of things, kind of like it's a different kind of thing. We're kind of more the creative side, I think, and some people are just kind of the more documentarian side. Um, yeah, I mean, I plan some things. Like I'll plan shots sometimes, but that's probably like once I get into the field. So like, this has kind of been a recent project of mine. I've been trying to get this one shorebird I've that's been showing up on this one creek, fairly near my house. So I've kind of made like a makeshift blind inside of a bush. I've been like waiting. He's a smart bird, so he like sees me very easily. So I've gone there twice so far, but I've this bird I cannot tell you, but I planned that shot. Like I have the angle set. I know what camera settings I want to use for the shot. I just need him to go in this place. I mean, it's crazy. This little guy, like, I'll walk away for a bit, and then he'll come back. He'll be in that one spot where I wanted him to be. I'm like, dang it! And then I'll get spooked, and he won't come back for a while. He comes back, and I leave. It's just man. But I do plan some things, like especially for birds. I'll plan like the perch I want, and I'll wait a little bit, and then hopefully one will land.
Mhm. What bird is it? Do you know?
It's a something. I think it's a killdeer.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But those
Uh,
pretty. I bet those are pretty. They're pretty common up here. Are they pretty common down
Uh,
there?
I think they're fairly common. I haven't seen that many. It's a family of two, or
Hmm.
I don't know if they're a family,
Okay.
but they are so smart. Like even the slightest movement I make, and I'm talking like I'm hiding behind like bushes and stuff, and with like a camouflage lens and everything, they will see me and they know like they're very smart birds.
They're very skittish, cautious in my experience too. Yeah, like because I think they're the most common uh, like a member of the plover family. I think they're the most common plover in Ohio, and they can be down in these open grass fields out in like high school parking lot, or they could be open like shopping mall parking lots. They're kind of just everywhere. There's a rock quarry, and they're always down in like the lower gorge part of it. Um, yeah, they're kind of everywhere, but you just have to be real patient for them. And
Yeah.
they run pretty fast, as you can probably tell, like
Oh
along the
yeah.
ground and everything. If you just kind of get down low with them and just wait and be patient, as long as it takes, however, you may just have them run up to you and they won't even know it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I laid on a rock baking in the sun for like an hour and a half, literally, and they would not come near me. So I don't know. I'm gonna get some camo soon and stuff. So hopefully that might help a bit. But uh, yeah, it's definitely I like planning those kind of things, but I don't really plan before. I guess I'll get there and kind of plan out things a bit. Like sometimes I'll like this sounds kind of dangerous, but I'll stash my camera bag sometimes, like in a bush or something, and be like, I'm gonna come
Ooh,
back here and get this shot later after I walk around a bit. Just that kind of planning and whatnot.
right. I mean, as long as you're close to home, I wouldn't mind it too much either.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
So kind of moving on here. What are kind of the common mistakes you first made when you were doing photography?
Uh, good question.
I mean, if you want me to go first, I can. It's to you though.
No, I mean, I can probably rattle off a few here. I mean, like, yeah, just like kind of stuff I mentioned already, like just like over reliance on shooting handheld. Not really knowing my camera settings at first, which is totally fine. Like I said, I don't expect anyone day one to just know everything and what they're doing and know the camera inside and out. I guess I would recommend to beginners, if they're listening, is to before you even really touch your camera, or even while you're like messing around with it, turning it on, pressing buttons, like have the camera manual side by your side and just kind of read through it. Just trial and error and just test it out. Like you might be reading about the live view mode and seeing how you can adjust the dials while you're in live view mode and just kind of experiment with it that way, side by side. Um, Other than that, I mean, just planning out like trips. Like I said, planning out trips. I feel like at the very least, plan out the weather. Because there's a few nature reserves along the bike path I've been at years past, and like it would just pour rain, like a flash flood kind of rainstorm just out of nowhere, and you'd have to bike home in all this rain with all your camera gear, and nothing's covered with a pack cover, and my clothes were just soaked and everything, and it's just terrible. And that's because I simply didn't prepare for the day. I didn't
Yeah.
expect to see rain because I didn't look for it. And I didn't even know, like looking at the sky, I didn't even know what to look for. Like seeing that, like you ever see like that mist in the really like the horizon in the
Hmm.
background, and you're like, oh, that looks like rain in the distance. And it's coming fast moving clouds this way. Stuff like that. Like it's just like little, I guess, visual cues of just like you need to see stuff and just be aware of your surroundings. Um, I mean, other than that, like, yeah, just preparing. Like, if it's a midsummer day and you're going for this few miles hike, or you don't know how long you're going to be out, but you're going to be out for hours, bring some water, stuff like that. Bring a snack or like a full on meal, like an MRE in a jet boil or something. That's stuff you learn, of course, over time. Um, I mean, like on the photo editing side, like over processing photos, that was a big problem I had. Not a problem, but like I would just kind of do it for the sake of it, like over the top wacky effects. Like my photos I edited in high school were just very crazy zany little effects, and I didn't care how they looked. Like not basically, I didn't want to make it look real. I guess I just want to have fun with it, which is totally fine, like I said. But looking back, it was like kind of just goofy stuff, like just really like posterizing and just make everything look really just crazy and over the top, like I said.
Did you ever do like the selective color thing where you would remove all colors except one?
It's funny. I've at the time I've yet to try that until like a couple months ago, and I did it for like a covered bridge shot. That was the first time I tried it. So
I would use that on every photo in the beginning. Like it was crazy.
I think yeah, nothing screams more than like high school photography class than like seeing people do that. Because I remember there's a lot of people that did that,
And
and
you
using
thought
really
you were
wide
so cool
apertures.
too. Yeah.
I mean, I had to like look through my photo editor honestly, like like I said months ago, but pretty recent. And I had like look through the settings and like we're like, how do I actually access this feature? Because like I said, I know it's on there, but I don't know where.
Hmm. So you never like, do you ever like warp, or not warp, but like affect individual colors, or are you just kind of a global saturation person?
Um, I mean, more recently, I of course over the years I kind of learned better about how to do things. But like when I started out, no, I just used global sliders.
Hmm.
I'm trying to be better about it nowadays and try out masking and like using HSL so I can adjust the saturation on just like red, yellow, or something like that. But like the early days, no, I just everything just kind of whatever I felt like goes, and the easier the better. So if it was a global slider, I would use it, and I may use it to the highest or lowest extreme. I don't
Oh
know.
my, yeah, that's beginners out there.
That's
Unless you're going for some creative look, I would suggest never really doing that. Like it's, I mean, if you go all the way down on the saturation, that's just black and white. So, and then if you go all the way up, it just looks like a burnt like piece of bread or something.
I don't think I've ever taken a picture of a bread, but honestly,
That sounds like a very beginner thing to do. I probably did
oh
that a
yeah,
couple times.
I think
I
once I
remember one time I copied Peter McKinnon, and I brought down this little lamp from my bedroom down to the first floor and photographed a piano, and I like set up the light, and I like completely copied Peter McKinnon like the day before he released the piano photo, and did a tutorial on how to do it. So I just literally copied that and just took a random picture of piano, and I thought that was like the best work in the world.
that's great. How many people would you say early on did you like copy per se?
It was really all Peter McKinnon. It's all
Only
I
him?
watched. Yeah, he was like the guy for me, and the Northrops too. I learned a lot from them. That's when I once I discovered them, I started to like really learn camera settings. Like Peter McKinnon's great. I think I fell more in love with his style, less than like the technical photography aspects, but like the Northrops, I really learned a lot about photography from. And like Frono's photo too. Kind of the first people that will like show up in your algorithm,
Oh yeah, you type in
the big
photography.
names. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what shows up. I mean, the Northrops, to be fair, are like more educational, I'd say, but like Peter McKinnon's more like entertainment, right? More like a vlog or something.
Nowadays he's like a
Cinema,
coffee, guitar, pool, everything
tattoos,
YouTuber.
and everything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, like I really was never. I watched videos from them, sure, but like I was never really drawn to them. Trying to think, probably my biggest one was like Thomas Heaton, honestly. Like it got to a point pretty badly where I'm like copying his, and this is only a couple of years ago, but I was like copying his like the way he packaged everything, like his prints and everything. I like copy the designs he'd make. Oh yeah, my website. I've always kind of like took inspiration from someone else's or like his or something. And remember how you always wore that orange down jacket?
Yeah.
Well, I bought one just because of that.
Oh my gosh.
Now I still have it, and I don't really wear it much for like videos or anything. But like just it is a nice jacket on its own. But yeah, like every time I just kind of put it on, like I did today, I'm just like, oh man, I bought this
Yeah.
just because he wore one. Yeah, this is terrible stuff.
I think Thomas Heaton, he was the first guy that I really got into landscape photography from. And landscape
Mhm.
was kind of what propelled me into other things as well. So yeah, he is kind of the algorithm thing for landscapes as well. But I think he probably deserves that spot. I mean, he's does those in-depth videos. And I think beginners, that's definitely a great person to watch.
He's great because he's very like real. I would say like he's very like set aside the ego, and he's very like kind of brutally honest about things.
Hmm.
And like he just seems like a very friendly guy. Like you can just tell he's not really fake or phony. He always just if he has a bad day out, he's very like honest about it. And he shows that most of the time.
Yeah, except for his latest van videos. I don't know. They've been making me a little bit mad. I just miss his
Mad,
photography. Not
mad.
mad, but just like,
How
come on,
dare he make
dude.
it?
Like,
How dare he? Come on, dude. How dare he make videos about his fan?
uh huh.
I mean, but like it's like a buildup. Then he's gonna travel with it some more, you know.
See, my fear is if I like the van idea too much, I'll end up like spending a bunch of money and customizing my car and turning it into like some mobile camping thing or something.
Well, see, like I'm amazed he like I can never like pull off. I don't have like the technical know-how to like put down wiring and stuff. Like I did soldering and stuff in high school too, but like I could never figure out how to do that for my own stuff and trust it. You know, the build and design. So I mean, like, but you could just throw a sleeping bag in your SUV and call it a day. That's a camper van. I mean, that's about as far as I go, probably.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But like, you know, if you go down that path, I know how easy it is to get involved in a hobby like this. It started from watching some YouTube videos, and now it's like a big part of my life. So you never know.
I don't even know how. Like YouTube, like really was not a part of it for me. Like the desire to pick up the camera, really. I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, like I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I
I feel
watched.
like that's a generational difference, maybe. Like,
You think
I've
so?
I've kind of always watched YouTube for like. Obviously, I didn't watch photography when I was like 8, but I would watch like the
Yeah.
stupid Minecraft videos or something, and I kind of just grew up on it, and the algorithm, taught me everything. I guess.
Thanks, algorithm. We owe you a lot.
Uh huh.
Huh. Yeah, I'm just trying to think now. It's like my timeline's all over the place on the episode, but like I remember, like I think junior high, I had a Nintendo DSi, a little video game console thing, handheld.
I
Because
used to
I
have
was
one of those.
Yeah, because I was really big in the gaming at the time, and you know, growing up, of course. But that had cameras on it. I feel like I explained this in the very first episode, but like I had cameras on it, and I just like took pictures of whatever. I would set up like my little like action figures and toys, and I would just like set up like random things around the house, and like that's really where I feel like that's really where I got my start. That was like my first camera, and it was like 1.3 megapixel, but like
Oh my.
I yeah, it was terrible. 10 years ago at least, but by now, but I mean, that's kind of really learned how to like compose things. But I spent all this time like meticulously arranging things and just seeing how like the ceiling lights in my living room would just play on this like figure in front of me. And yeah, I think that's really where I got my start. And without that, I never learned. Or going to like the zoo and having a disposable film camera,
Mhm.
just going that way.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely different for everyone. It's just kind of weird to think how something so small, like a small part of your life, can evolve to something so big. You know.
Mhm. Oh yeah, if you asked me like a few years ago, like would you be like would you have the camera, you know, every would be like the thing you wake up for, I guess, and be like, I'd probably laugh at you. I'd be like, no, like why do I care? But I'm like, now it is, you know, it's like a big deal for me. So pretty much is my life. It's consumed me whole.
People know me as like the camera guy now, and like a couple of years ago, they didn't even know I cared about photography. So
Oh, do you ever like run into someone like you haven't talked to maybe in a while, and they're like, oh yeah, you're in the camera stuff now, and they're like really surprised about it, like what?
yeah, I mean,
How'd that happen?
I ran into a friend that I hadn't seen for like 6 months or so, and he was like, "I swear, dude, are you like painting pictures on your lens or something? Because there's no way those are real." I was like, "Thank you."
I mean, yeah, sometimes some of the photos you post, I'm just like, man, it's crazy. I'm not saying you paint them, of course, but I'm just like, man, this is
Oh,
like wild
you
stuff.
exposed me. Like,
Oh shoot.
let's keep it on the low, please.
Can you imagine like wasting more time instead of just taking the shot? You just waste more time painting onto your like lens or filter.
I don't know how
Like
that would like focus. I don't like.
it would.
Yeah.
I imagine acrylic paint would probably stick to it and just
Ugh.
imagine wiping that off.
You
No
couldn't.
cloth is going to save you now.
No. No.
Oh god, no. Oh, I should do it with my broken lens over here, my wide angle.
Yeah.
I should paint on it, make an art piece out of it.
Can you even attach that thing to your camera, or is it just?
You know what? It's it can only like click upside down because I unscrewed it and everything.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to send you a picture or something. I don't know. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I don't know if I want to see it since I have the same lens.
This could be you. It's a
Yeah.
cautionary tale.
Oh,
Yeah.
it very well could be. Yeah.
It's funny because those stories aren't really early days. It's like within the past year days.
I mean, it's any day for me. It's never happened to me, but I've dropped a camera, but I've never broken anything. It will happen. Like it's bound to happen at some point. So
Oh yeah, it just means the world when you have like no money for it to replace it.
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I have warranties on everything but my wildlife lens, so I'm just praying it's not that one.
Shoot, the one that needs it most.
Yeah.
Probably.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like I'm always like telling people like this. You know, some people friends will ask me like, should I use hey Ryan, should I use UV filters? And I'm like, don't waste your time. They're kind of pointless. They soften the quality of each lens. But I mean, like my wildlife lens, even though I have that big lens hood on, I still have a UV filter on there.
Same.
Just
Yeah.
because it's a big piece of glass. I don't want to like have it crack or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Should drop, I
when I'm
guess.
carrying my wildlife lens around, sometimes I have it from a strap, and it gets into branches and stuff, and I mean, like the branches can go inside your lens hood, and maybe it could scratch your elements or something.
Also worse.
Yeah.
You're like walking and like it just pokes right into the like the lens, the hood, and everything.
Hmm.
No scratches. No scratches.
Yeah.
Is there
I
any
mean,
other like
although, yeah,
what's up? Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say like that's another misconception. I got a scratch on one of my early photography lenses. I don't have it anymore, but I got so worked up about it. But um, I realize now that scratches don't affect your photos at all, unless it's some massive gouge. Like scratches will not affect your picture quality. So
Oh,
that's something you
definitely.
can consider when you're a beginner. If you want to buy maybe a higher quality lens with a scratch on it used, I mean, you'll get just as good of photos and less price on the sale. So that's
Mm.
something to look out for.
I think it also I could be wrong, but I think it's also about the aperture you use. Because I know with like dust spots in your camera sensor and like
Mhm.
inside your lens and everything, it's like if you point it up at a blank sky and you go like the widest aperture and the smallest, like each one kind of shows a different parts of like the dust and like spots, right?
Mhm. Yeah, but I
And I
feel
guess it'd
like
be the same
even
for
even with
scratches.
that, the scratches won't show up. I think it's just maybe you might get a little bit of extra lens flare. I think that might be the only negative. But like it's not like
Yeah.
a picture ruining amount.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker, especially if it's like a surface scratch, I bet.
I
Because
mean,
I
if
remember one of
you're
my
yeah, I mean if
I
you're like
remember
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say like the one time I dropped one of my lenses and camera face first, and it had a filter that cracked, and like it, I don't know how, but like some bits of the glass from the filter that just like shattered, got like inside the camera lens. It's weird. Like there's little bits in it. I had to like shake them out of there, but I can still see one or two of them stuck in there, and they're not like on the edge, but they're near that, and like so, but it doesn't show up in the images. I never see it. So it doesn't affect really the picture quality at all. Yeah.
You better hope that doesn't go into your sensor somehow though.
Oh no, it's on the front. It's a telephoto. I'm not
Okay.
worried about it. The chances of that somehow, I don't know how it'd make its way. It's just like on the surface, like
Mhm.
beneath the glass, the front glass,
Yeah.
you know, like in front, in between that and the bulb, I guess, of it. But
Mhm. That's another thing when you're a beginner too. Cameras aren't invincible, so definitely be careful with them.
treat that like it's your baby. I feel like
Yes.
I'm more lazy about nowadays. I'm just like, it's a tool
Mhm.
a
Yeah, I'll
little
set it.
bit. But
Have you ever like hung it from a tree branch on a lens strap before? I
I
do
used to do
that
that for
too.
video. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't bring the tripod. I better use this tree branch that's like perfectly leveled. The
And
strap's not going to fail. Oh gosh. Is there anything else you had to add? I mean,
I don't think so. No.
we covered a lot there.
Yeah.
It's kind of good to reminisce a little bit. Yeah. Hopefully that helps other people. Maybe
Maybe.
amusing stories at the very least. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah.
Do you
So
want
you got
to?
any announcements?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Uh, spring migration's well underway. So I'm getting tons of bird shots, seeing new birds, live birds. Um, some like the species that I don't really like see. I guess they don't really get in front of my lens and my binoculars too often. I'm seeing more of this year because I'm being more like, educated. Which I guess we could have talked about that, but yeah, just being educated about what you photograph is important too, and that comes with age and years and experience, of course, too. Um, so yeah, doing lots of birding there. Just more of the same, doing videos. I just had a trunk art show here in my town, and yeah, just more of the same. Be on the lookout for my photo book. I'm slowly but surely working on it, and hopefully it'll be out soon. So it'll be my first one.
Cool.
Self-published on Blurb, I think, is what I'm going with.
Nice.
And it'll be for sale, and yeah. So how about you?
I was just gonna ask with your spring migration, what's been like your favorite one so far that you've seen?
Favorite bird?
Like a new lifer.
Oh, new lifer. I have to check. I know I had about 90 species so far this year. That's for like year birds, not life birds. So that means like the first sighting of a species that counts as a year bird for 2021. So I'm at 90 birds right now, which is great, I think, for me. I'm trying to think. I had a Lincoln sparrow. That was pretty cool. I thought it was a song sparrow, but I had Sean. Shout out to Sean Howe. We had him on before. He corrected me, and he said it was actually a Lincoln sparrow, which is even more awesome bird, honestly, than a song sparrow. So and I got some real close up shots of it too, which is great. So that was a life bird for me. Surprise too. I didn't expect that one.
Yeah, it's always cool when you looks like a bird you thought you might already know, but then it's something even better.
Yeah, it's like I knew at the moment I took those shots. I'm like, this has like a different look to it, slightly different color. That was kind of just off putting. But I'm like, I don't know what else it would be. So I just said song sparrow on the video I recorded that day. But I'm like, I see the difference now. It's that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Any updates for you? Announcements?
Yeah, I've shot an ad for Hunt's Photo and Video. So that's coming out soon. I still got to edit that, but I did I spent like 5 hours out in the field doing some like video production stuff, so that was pretty fun. Awesome. Yeah, that'll be out soon. Let's see, in less than 3 weeks now, I'm headed to California, so I'm gonna see Muir Woods, which is like redwoods, so that'll be awesome. And then Yosemite National Park. So I'm already that is one trip I do want to do some planning for, because I want to kind of get the best locations, best hiking trails, everything. And then as well, after that this summer, I've got some family who has a house up in a beautiful part of Michigan. So I'm going to be living most of the summer up there, living and working, and then doing photography as much as I can as well. It's just beautiful up there. It's just tons of birds, amazing landscapes. So that'll be like a great summer thing, I think. Get up early every morning, just do a bunch of photography. I think I'll probably, I really know a lot about that area, and I think, being up there for 7-8 weeks will, sorry, voice crack. Being up there for 7 to 8 weeks will like really allow me to like kind of dive in depth and return to locations. I'm thinking about maybe doing a book about that later, because I'm sure I'll get thousands of images up there. So yeah, I'm really excited. So
if it's anything like your most recent trips, I think it's gonna be a slam dunk.
Oh, thank you.
You seem to do well when you kind of travel outside of your local area.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm just kind of a little bit, I'm not burnt out, but I'm just, after kind of 2 years of the like quarantine, traveling again has been nice. So yeah, just kind of, I think this summer will definitely be the biggest summer for my photography. Got a lot of other cool things coming that I can't talk about on here yet. But
they're good though.
I'm really excited. Yeah. Yeah. So just stay tuned.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Hopefully same for me. Yeah. And hopefully we can meet up soon too.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be in Ohio, I'm sure.
I mean, you're gonna pass through it too when you go to Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're flying, I don't know. I guess you're still passing.
I think we're driving. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have to, I can't talk about that. Never mind. I'll tell you. I was going to tell you why I had to drive, but I can't talk about them here. So
okay.
Yeah.
Tight-lipped over here. The all outdoors. We're not talking about photography. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a great episode.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.